both of us had some experience of PTSD through our fathers. Both of our fathers had served in the war.
It's a lovely movie, and I want to know what was so special about this true story, and William Ivory's approach to it that
Hmm.
inspired you to take this project.
Well, it was his approach particularly that made it appealing, because the story itself, I knew, I remembered it happening, and it was quaint, it was fun, it was curious, but I was worried that the script might be a little sentimental, a little bit sweet and cheesy. But Billy had really got hold of something very powerful and subverted some of the elements in it. It's not in any way a glorification of war, obviously, and finding the passion in these two old people, making it a love story, essentially, really gave it great profundity and great charm, I think. I found a very similar connection to the story as Billy too, because both of us had some experience of PTSD through our fathers. Both of our fathers had served in the war.
Great. And speaking of those experiences your parents had,
Mm.
Sir Michael Caine, who is an extraordinary actor, and this portrayal of the character is very emotional. How did
Mm.
you know he was perfect fit for the role, and how did his own experiences help telling the story?
Well, one question answers the other in a way. His own experience, he was a soldier. He'd served in the war and had seen some very tough things. And so, uh, what was interesting to me was his way of dealing with it was a bit similar to Bernie's, in that he would sort of make light of it in one way, unless you pressed, and then you get a sense of the depth of emotion underneath. His suitability for the role was, I found, just extreme. In that you meet Bernie and you think he's good fun. Like Michael was very playful and charming on set, but in a light way. And then when the acting came, you'd really find the depth in the performance. And also being that working class man, I think the class is quite an important thing for this character. And your guilt is almost compounded, because what have you done with your life? And as she says, it's an ordinary love, but it's a deep love.
That's very beautiful. How the character really spoke to him to come back
Mm.
and make this role happen. Um, I also find you have a great sensitivity for comedy, and in The Great Escaper, balances it masterfully with sensibility to the subject. What were the challenges of finding the right tone, and how did you achieve it?
Good question. I mean, in some ways, it's a bit about holding your nerve. Where do you start the story? And there he is on the beach at the beginning, and it was like you just want to give enough sense of depth and gravity and potential pain. And once you've got that, then you are allowed some space to play the character and see his wit, his slightly dark humor with the other care the residents, and and seeing that even the wit of him as a slightly racist man making jokes at the expense of the Germans. So all these things, and yet you're going, this will have a payoff in the same way that a joke needs a payoff. The story needs a payoff too. So that I think there's a way in which you can win an audience, hopefully, or bring them round, as long as it's character based. So nearly all the comedy is based in both their characters, and his is a kind of sweet playfulness, and she's got this terrific kind of um, sense of irony. I think as a character, you feel she's got it's to do with an intelligence. You feel like she can see through people and systems, and she understands it, and she's making fun of them without it being mean. And so I was hugely helped, for example, in her case, by her ability to find these extra dimensions. She found more comedy than we had in the script, and sometimes that I had in my head. But you're right. I mean, my hope always is to, even when there's something very powerful, you can make it darker by making it lighter.